Hi, my name is Joel Kaufman, and today I would like to go over one of the new features of the HTTP callout from Salesforce Flow. We're going to cover how to make a GET request to an external API outside Salesforce using the HTTP callout in Salesforce Flow. One of the benefits of using such an approach is that there is absolutely zero code involved. There's no deployments necessary. Everything could be done through Salesforce Flow. In our scenario, we want that anytime an email has been changed on the contact, we want to call an external API to validate the email address to see what kind of email address this is. If it's a good one, it's deliverable and such. I'm using an API here to do just that. It takes the email address and gives us back a quality score. We want to take that quality score and then store it into the contact record. I created a custom field here, email quality score, and we're going to use the value from the response of that external API to store it under the contact anytime the email has been changed. In order to set up a HTTP callout, the first thing what we need to do is set up a name credential. A name credential is set up here, name credentials, and it consists of two parts. There is an external credential and a name credential. Every name credential must have an associated external credential. So we'll start with the external credential first. We just create a name. We'll call it the name of the API and select authentication protocol. For our demo, we'll just use no authentication. The next thing is we need to associate the external credential to a profile or a permission set to allow users to use it. For our demo, we're just going to use the profile of the system administrator since this is used in the demo. We'll create a principal. We'll just give it a name as default. Next, we'll go to the profile. Look for system administrator. And look for enabled name credential access. Enable external name credentials. Oops, shows the wrong one again. This is it, and save. Next, we need to set up the name credentials and associate it with the external credential. We'll just name it the same way, and we have to put in the URL used for the API. Select the external credential, make sure enabled for callouts is turned on, and save. Next, we can go and create our flow using the HTTP callout. We'll create a flow, a trigger flow, anytime a record changes on the email. In order to do it, we'll choose the contact. A record has been updated. And then in the condition, we'll only choose if the email is not blank and the email has been changed. So is null is false and email is changed. We'll also select include a run asynchronous. Since we are going to be using a HTTP callout, we can only do it on the asynchronous path. Next, we'll save this flow just to make sure our changes has been saved. It's a good practice. And then we will start adding stuff. So what we need to do is, we need to do a HTTP callout using the email of the contact, and then getting that response back and saving it on the contact. So what we'll do is, we'll use the action element and choose the create HTTP callout on the left bottom. It will ask us to create a new external service. This external service will also be able to be used in different flows later on. I will show you how. External service will call the name as of the API. We'll choose the name credentials that we created earlier. Next. We'll name the function of that API what we're going to use. The idea is that we can have multiple functions on the same API, since some APIs have different methods to be used on the same API. For our demo here, we'll just name it email validation. We'll choose the method, and we're going to use the get HTTP method. I will have a different tutorial how to use the post method. The next thing is, we need to set the path of the API. In order to understand the path and the query parameters, let's look at the URL that we have on the API. We have here a URL of the API. This part over here is called the domain. Anything after the slash is called the path. Anything after the question mark is called the query parameters. Query parameters consists of key value pairs. We can see here there's a key and there's a value, and then the ampersand is a delimiter between the next key pair. So for our demo, we'll just use the path here, which is /v1. We'll set it under the path. With the query parameters, we'll enter two query parameters. So the first query parameter we'll enter is API key. Choose the data type as string, make it required. The next thing is the email. Set as string and also as required. The next thing is, we need to provide a sample response of the API. And this is very crucial, since Salesforce needs to understand what to expect as the response so we can later use it in the flow. In our API here, we can see we have a response. So we'll just copy everything from the first bracket to the ending bracket and paste it into the prompt here. We'll do review, and Salesforce automatically figures out the data types of the response here. And we can see, for example, there's a value with a Boolean, and we can see it matches up. Value here is also a Boolean. Click now, done, and save. Now we have an external service. We can actually see an external service if we go to setup now. Go to setup, search for external service, and we'll see we have a new external service here. If there needs to be some modifications, if something has to be added or modified, we can go here to the external service and click Edit HTTP Callout action, and we can make the modifications right here. Since this external service has been created, this is across the whole organization, meaning if there's other flows that needs to use the same action, we can use the same external service. And it doesn't have to be recreated for every flow. Let's go back to our flow. Now, since we have this, we can use it as an action. I'm going to reload the flow just to show you how it will look if you have a different flow using the same external service. You will just go to actions the same as before, but you don't have to use the create HTTP callout again, since the external service already exists in the system. To look for it, just use the type and choose the external service tab. And then you can see it over here. Now, for our trigger, what we'll do is we'll just give it a label and we'll name it, let's say, get data. We'll provide the necessary values. So for our API key, we'll paste this in. And for our email, we'll use the context email. So we can use the record and then email. Done. And the next thing is we need to set the results data from that response from the API and set it on the record. So we'll just use update triggering record, give it a name, and then use the score field and set it to the output of the API. And you will see all of the data from the API is kind of like it's a part of the Salesforce flow, and Salesforce automatically created a dynamic type based on our response of the API. So we can see over here, you have quality score, and we can save it and activate the flow. Once this is activated, we can test it out if we're going to make a change to the email address. So let's make a change. Takes a minute since it's asynchronous, but it should be here in a minute. Now we see email quality score is 000. I'm going to use a different email address to see if this is going to make a change. So we'll use save it, reload the page, and we can see it's 60. And everything has been done through the external API. If you find it helpful, please make sure to like and subscribe and follow us for more interesting videos around Salesforce development. Thank you.